Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today for the annual SU Election Forums. My name is Carter Henry, and I'll be your host and facilitator for today. At this forum, we will be meeting our candidate running to be the VP academic for the 2026-27 academic year. Voting will take place from March 3rd to 5th on your student center. Over the course of the next hour, I'll be asking the candidate questions about who they are, what they stand for, and what they know about this position so far. Audience members who have questions may speak to our candidate after the forum is over from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the tables towards the back. Today, I also have an assistant with me who is going to be keeping our time over here at Excel. Each question we ask will have a time limit. Candidates, please keep your eyes open. The green paddle means that there are only 30 seconds remaining, and red means stop, in which I will interrupt. We will now move on once the time is over. And so, candidates, are we ready to go?
Ready?
Excellent. Let's begin. And to start, please introduce yourself and your campaign platform.
Well, firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today. I'm so excited to be able to speak here today. My name is Zoe Zeritsch. I'm a third-year honors biochemistry student, and again, it's such a pleasure. On top of biochemistry, I've been deeply engrossed in music. I've done the chamber choir and the campus choir here on campus. I've done volleyball for a very, very long time. I've worked with active living and intramurals, very fun. And yeah, I'm so excited to be able to talk about these student issues with you guys. My campaign focuses on three major issues, being improving learning environments for students. We're tackling program transparency and also improving access to experiential learning opportunities. As a student, I've been so deeply engrossed in academic experience, and I feel like the stigma going around that university is going to be the most difficult thing that you guys will ever have to do in your life is something that should not be normalized. I want to ensure that students prioritize their mental health, their physical well-being, and overall their learning. And yeah.
Well, excellent. Thank you very much, Zoe. Now we will begin round one, in which you will have 2 minutes to answer the question, in which those last 30 seconds, you'll see the green paddle, and once those are end, you will see the red paddle, in which I'll jump in. To begin, what do you believe is the biggest academic issue students currently face? How do you plan to address that issue as a priority?
Well, as I said in my introduction, I think that students having a disregard, or say the university disregarding students' mental health and physical well-being is a very, very big issue that we have here at the university. Like I said, it should not be normalized that we come to campus on sick, that we're sleeping overnight on campus, or going without food, water, just overworking yourself with deadline pileups. I think that is the biggest academic issue that we face here at the university, and with that being the rampant disregard for mental and physical health, as well as the lack of clarity regarding programs causing unneeded stress on students, I feel like really needs to be addressed. To do that, I feel like students need to really be consulted on these issues, and I want to get a temperature check on where everybody is coming from. Everybody has a different program, everyone has different requirements, and I want to make sure all of them are addressed and fits their needs for their specific program. Whether that be advocating in committees, making sure students feel comfortable and safe in their degree progression. I want to make sure that everybody feels cared and tended for, and advocating to the higher-ups that can actually do something about making sure that students feel less stressed about their programs.
Thank you, Zoe. Moving on to the second question. The VP academic sits on many committees and supports students in different ways. Considering this busy schedule, it can be challenging to accomplish all of your platform goals. Walk us through one goal you think is the most important to serve students, and how are you going to go about achieving this goal?
I really want to focus on having flexible deadlines for assignments as well as wellness days for students. I already spoke on it again, so repeating myself, mental health is a very big priority for me. And I feel like when classes, especially if you're taking classes from many disciplines, work tends to pile up because of the lack of communication. Of course, that is very difficult, and there are a lot of moving parts to try to schedule assignments on a different day for every day. And so it's a little bit impossible to do that. But having a flexible deadline policy that students can use at their own discretion would really help students be able to both plan their week and have breaks when they need to, instead of feeling constantly overworked. On top of that, making sure that reading break stays a break with these flexible deadline policies, ensuring that students can actually have breaks that isn't just a week given to you at the student's discretion, whether they're feeling physically unwell, mentally unwell, or just needing a break. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. And let's talk about OERs. What is an OER? And what is your current understanding of these resources? Please share your ideas on how the SU and U of C can better advocate for the adoption of these resources.
So an OER is an open educational resource that students can use as an alternative to textbooks or paid resources provided or bought for themselves for their classes. They are very specific to the course that they're taking, and they're openly available to students through their course, most commonly an alternative to a textbook. To implement these resources, they are so important to implement, and I feel like every student should have access to an OER, whether it be an open resource to use for your class on your own time or at the university library. For example, implementing OERs would have a lot of consultation with professors, with the faculty council, as well as the students themselves to see their specific needs. You would be basically working with the Taylor's Institute and also the bookstore possibly as well to make sure that these OERs are accessible and really fitting students' needs. For example, I know that they've been trying to be implemented a lot. For example, in organic chemistry, using an online textbook instead of like online lecture videos, as well as like poetry readings for English classes and online books. But I know that a lot of work still has to be done with paying for resources, for example, in Haskell's, paying for case studies, and I'd love to tackle that as well.
All right, moving on. What do you think is the most important committee that the VPA sits on, whether at the SU or the university, and why?
I think that the General Faculties Council is definitely the most important. It allows you a meeting to sit down with both the president and higher executives at the university. I think that the Teaching and Learning Committee comes in at a close second. I think that as long as we prioritize student learning and student experience, that committee comes into a very big part in the VP Academics role, acting as a safeguard to their experience and as well as just trying to make sure that everybody's feeling comfortable in their degree. But for the General Faculties Council, you get to talk to the president and present student issues that may have not been heard by them before, and you get to actually let them know what is going on at the student body level. And I'd love to also listen to the executive's thoughts on these issues as well, because they have some very good points to make on top of the issues that we present to them.
On to the next question. As VPA, you would regularly receive emails from fellow students about unfair in-course assessments or final exams. How would you guide a fellow student who needs assistance in resolving these kinds of issues?
I think it's a very scary feeling to go to someone that you don't know or perhaps haven't talked to as much about issues revolving your course load or perhaps unfair assessments. It's very difficult to put yourself out there. To support them, I would let them know that I am here for them, as cliche as it is, and that I make sure that I listen actively and I take the time to truly understand the root of their problems instead of kind of glossing over it and trying to use the the most efficient solution, I would say. There are a lot of issues that students can have around campus, and I want to make sure that with every issue there is a specific solution to it, whether they have multiple options presented to them, and so they don't feel neglected or shoveled into one specific option. On top of that, making them feel heard, listened to, present a lot of options for them, and make sure that they know that I'm here for them every step of the way, and make sure that I concisely present every option, every availability that they have to proceed forward.
All right. Now, one of the primary functions of the SU is advocacy work. What is your understanding of the ways the SU advocates for students within the VP academic portfolio?
So the academic portfolio is heavily built into, the VP academic portfolio is heavily built in with advocacy based on all of the committees that it sits on. I find that the VPA position lends a student, like an insider student ear to the general faculty and various higher ups that sit on the committees, and just the executives themselves. The VPA position, as I understand, requires many meetings with, say, the general faculty, university higher-ups, professors, and students themselves, most importantly. And all of those are various forms of advocacy as long as you are presenting issues and passing along the issues, somewhat like a messenger, but a little more forceful, I would say. It's all bundled into one position, and I'm very glad that VPA has advocacy so built into it. I just want to make sure that in advocating for student rights, these issues are repeated and made sure that they are heard to the general faculty, professors, and those who need to hear it. And yeah.
Now, advocating for students' needs would require the VPA to frequently hold opposing views with key university staff and administration that they regularly work with. How do you intend to balance your working relationship with these key personnel while doing your best to advocate for students if you do get elected?
I think conflict and disagreement is going to be a big part of this job. It's kind of inevitable. It's just how you go about it. Whether it will be initiated by me or any other member of a council that I will be a part of, I think it's very healthy when you have disagreement, because then you have time to talk about it and change and or present your views. I believe that those I will be speaking to kind of understands that kind of notion as well, and I don't think it'll devolve into like a yelling match, I would say. But that kind of conflict, I want those to know that I always have the students' best interest in mind. When presenting issues, I want people to know that I will fight for them, and I will come prepared, concise, and I will come educated as to what their issues are and what they would like to present to the general faculty. I really care about these issues, and I want to ensure that I keep a positive mindset, because I feel like, as cliched as it is, keeping a positive mindset when talking to people that you might have disagreements with really helps to kind of mediate this disagreement. I hope that attitude can shine through, and that I show to the faculty that I simply want to help students, but not hinder the general faculty.
Now for the final question of the first round. Policies and procedures at the university are essential, but can be complicated for students to navigate. Where can important policy that impacts students be found, and how would you go about achieving change in a policy or procedure?
So all academic policy and procedure can be found on the university website and the university calendar. Regarding, depending on the policy or where it originates from, going about changing it would likely go through a various cascade of committees and just talking to a lot of people. I want to make sure that any policy change is very transparent to the students. I feel that students are it's very unclear about policy changes or program changes or general changes or changes in general. Students are very unsure about what is happening. The communication is very not communicated well. And I want to make sure that students are very aware of these changes, and that any issues that I'm presenting to a committee I have already discussed with a student or student body beforehand and made sure that I garner their support so I can present their issues to the best of my ability.
All right, thank you, Zoe. Now moving on to round 2, also known as the speed round. You'll see beside you, you have a whiteboard there. And for the following question, I will ask you, you will have 30 seconds to answer this question in which you will write the answer down on the board. Do keep a heads up as there is a question here with eventual bonus points, just so that you are aware. So you will have those 30 seconds and the time will be called by Excel down there. You will have 30 seconds once you begin to write, or once I finish the question. First question. APPC delegates certain powers and responsibilities to multiple subcommittees under its authority. One of these subcommittees serve to make and advise on decisions relevant to undergraduate students. What is the name of this subcommittee?
Wait, sorry, could you repeat the last part of that question?
One of these subcommittees serve to make and advise on decisions relevant to undergraduate students. What is the name of this subcommittee? Those 30 seconds are up, and we will now ask you to reveal your answer. The correct answer is UAPS, Undergraduate Academic Program Subcommittee. Moving on to the second question. I'll let you erase there.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. Who chairs GFC? And for bonus points, who is the vice chair? If you're ready, you may reveal. The correct answer for who chairs GFC is Ed McCulley, President and Vice Chancellor of U of C. And for that bonus point, the Vice Chair is Sandra Davidson, Provost and VP Academic. All right, on to the third question. Who is the lead SU student member on GFC, and what is their responsibility to SLC in this leadership? The correct answer is VP Academic GFC Caucus, briefing to SLC on upcoming GFC meetings. Moving on, what committee advises the GFC on students' educational experience? The correct answer is Teaching and Learning Committee. For the following question, who chairs GFC's Research and Scholarship Subcommittee? Please name the positions. The names are not required, just the positions.
actually know this one.
The answer is the Vice President Research and the Associate Vice President Research and one academic co-chair. All right, for your final question of the speed round, which 3 events does the VPA host at the SU annually? The answer to that is the Dean's Brunch, the Teaching Excellence Awards, also known as the TEA, and the Undergraduate Research Symposium, URS. Now, that concludes the second round there, the speed round. And we will now be moving on to the in-depth questions in round 3. Here we'll be moving back same to those 2 minutes that you'll have, in which when you see the green paddle, you'll have 30 seconds left. When you see red, I will interrupt you. For the first question, one of the major issues that you addressed in your platform is to pressure the university to establish an AI usage policy to address the growth of it being used across campus. Can you tell us why this is so important and how you will be able to convince the university of this?
So we, as the University of Calgary, is one of the only universities that does not have a currently established AI policy. This means AI can be rampantly used for classwork, coursework, graded material, and even final exams. I haven't seen that yet, but no policy. So really, it just needs to be done. For example, I took a class where almost 15% of the course grade was talking to a chat bot, and my personal opinion is that AI and AI-related course assessments should be staying out of graded material. AI is a very, very important tool for learning, for helping with course assessments, but it definitely should not be in place of, say, a class discussion or discussing with a fellow classmate. Regardless of my viewpoint, AI needs to be policied on campus. And I think that although I will not be the one making the policy, I think I will do my best to pressure the university that we need to establish an AI policy just to determine a barrier or a line to be drawn regarding this use on campus.
On that second question, just last week, the CBC had a pretty investigative look into the arts faculty, which continues to be a hot-button issue for students after the suspension of admission to certain arts programs last year. We know that at the President's Town Hall, it was announced that arts will be moving towards a degree concentrate model, drastically changing what it means to be an arts student. These will be challenging times for current and prospective arts students. What role do you see the VP academic playing as the changes to arts continue to be announced?
I think it calls back to another question I asked, or you asked later, about what role you see in just the VPA in general, being a listener and someone who takes everybody's issues and compresses it into one and presents it to people that need to hear it. Regarding the arts faculty, I want to ensure that arts students, both prospective and current students, know that the VPA has their back. There's going to be a lot of changes, and that's not going to be something that you can change going into it. I think that making sure that your rights are being protected, making sure that your classes, you're able to get into your classes, and making sure that if you have any problems with your classes, being students' right issues, mental health issues, just needing clarity revolving around the changes that are happening, I think you need to come to the VPA and we can explain it to you and hopefully help you and or the general faculty explain how these changes are going to work. Although they haven't been implemented yet, I'm not sure about that yet. We have to have your back, and we have to make sure that we listen to your issues and listen to your concerns because, of course, I'm a student. I know the experience with having very little clarity revolving around assessments and revolving around course changes. And I want to make sure that student issues are heard revolving around this and that we have your back.
Thank you, Zoe. Now moving on. Course availability and offerings continue to be a major issue each year with the current provincial funding model sidelining specific courses needed to graduate. You yourself have said that one of your priorities is to alter seat allocation. What changes will you be lobbying for to address this issue?
Seat allocation is such a major and relevant issue here on campus, and it causes so much stress for students. I think the most major way to combat about this is ensuring that we allow students who need to take the required courses for them to graduate into the required classes, rather that be altering seat allocation in regards to who can take the class if it's not directly required, to moving to hosting online classes or engaging in hybrid learning. Hybrid learning is such a great opportunity for students to be in a class and come on top of that with open access resources. I feel like it would be a very good alternative and an option for students to help to complete their degree and engage in their degree progression. I would love to garner some student perspectives on how they would feel if they were to only be able to take an online class or engage in hybrid learning, but I feel as though being in an online class would be a lot better than having to take an extra year because you weren't able to get into the class that you were able to or needing to get into. And I want to make sure that every single student's views are accounted for that, whether it be academic accessibility for learning, like learning needs, making sure that students know what they're getting into when it comes to hybrid learning and online classes, as well as just making sure that students can take the classes that they need.
Moving on. Oftentimes, the VP academic portfolio will have competing priorities and will have to choose which campaign promises to prioritize. The reality is that, as with any position that works with several committees, there are times to take a stand on an issue and times where it's necessary to move on. How do you decide which priorities are the former and which are the latter?
I'm not the type to back down from a challenge. I know my means, and I know that being a VPA, you can be stretched thin at times with how many committees you have to sit on, how many student issues you have to care about. Although some issues are quote unquote more important than others, I think that all issues deserve some time to consider. Using the method of majority rules, where you focus on the issues that are impacting the most amount of students, say the largest faculty, I think is a little bit, it doesn't help the students, say, with a smaller faculty that's slowly burning to the ground. You need to consider all issues, whether it is like a smaller, like 40-person program or the whole of the arts faculty. I feel like there will be some issues that I have to prioritize over others, such as the arts faculty. But I want to make sure that students, especially in smaller faculties and smaller programs, if they're coming to me about addressing those kind of issues, that they know that they are heard for and know that even if I can't take care of it, I will find somebody that can. I will focus on I know what to focus on, and I hope that I can learn on the most important issues that I can focus on during my time. But I'm definitely not the type to back down from a challenge if I see it's very important to students, and it is very, very important to me as well.
For question 5, this portfolio has the most committee requirements, meaning it has the most opportunities to build and strengthen good working relationships within the U of C outside the student body. How do you focus on relationship building to both maintain existing relationships and improve them for the next VP academic and the SU as a whole?
Like I said earlier, I think coming with a positive mindset and laying your heart on the table and showing that you care so deeply about students and their learning helps to make that connection with building new relationships. On the committees, everybody there is there to make, for one reason, really, to make a quality education for students. And that is my number one priority. If I can show new connections and new people that is true, I think that making any connection, as long as you have a positive mindset and you're prepared and ready to speak about issues, is very easy to make. It's, yeah, it's kind of cliche, but just being prepared and being positive, I feel like helps a lot, just meeting people and maintaining those connections. I'd love to ensure that the connections I've already made remain strong. The relationships I've already built have helped me get to where I am today, and I feel like if my foundation is good, then my future outreach will be even better.
Now, when a candidate is running unopposed, it often feels like students should just cast yes because the result is inevitable. Can you make your pitch to students why you should be trusted with the responsibility of being their VP academic, even in an uncontested race?
Although it is uncontested, I hope that this forum can help people see where I'm coming from regarding my platform, regarding my experience. I think the most important experience that you have to have for VPA is just being a student and being a student that cares. I am third year, I'm taking honors, I'm taking biochemistry, and I want to help people. I've seen so greatly in my program, in other programs, even when I was going around collecting signatures for people. I would go around and ask people what gripes they had, and I would try to see how their issues affected their program. And I realized the issues that I was having affected so many other people on campus. And I feel like to be a good VPA, you just have to be a student that cares. And you have to be a student that's willing to fight for other students. Although I don't have the Students' Union experience, I feel that like my experience being a student and being a student that wants to fight for other students outweighs anything that I could tell you guys today. I want to have your guys' back, and I really want to engage with you guys and make sure that your voices are heard. And yeah, I'm really excited to potentially be able to be in this position, and I'm really hoping that I can talk to you guys more during my campaign, and I can try to explain where I'm coming from regarding my campaign, my platform, and my reasons for running.
Thank you, Zoe. Your time at the U of C has hopefully taught you a lot of lessons, and the SU strives to be a place of continual learning. What lessons that you've learned about yourself at the U of C are you hoping to bring to the SU, and what are you hoping to learn from the SU should you be elected?
Well, I've definitely learned a lot at U of C. Besides stuff in my program, of course, I think the most important lesson that I've learned is you can't do everything by yourself. As much as you think you can spread yourself thin, it is really hard to do everything and try everything and be the best you can be at all times. I think the lesson that I've learned is you need to depend on people and you need to build relationships that help you get through things. I thank my friends and my family and everybody in my life and in my program for being able to support me through these, through like sending me notes, through just explaining things to me. It means the world. And I think that a lesson that I would love to pass on to everybody else is that find people that you can depend on, find people that you can ask for help and ask for advice, and you will go very far in life. Some lessons that I'm hoping to learn from that Students' Union is kind of just being involved in the position. Like I said, I haven't been in the Students' Union before, and I'm really excited to see how things are run around here. I'm excited to meet fellow executives if I do get elected into this position, and I'm excited to be able to work with people that have the same common goal of just wanting to make a better student experience. I'm hoping to learn kind of the same lesson where you need people to help you out in the Students' Union, and you need people to help support you because it's a little hard to do anything or everything on your own.
Now, to wrap up the third round, your final pitch. Tell us, why should the student body vote for you?
Well, I care about you guys. I'm a student that cares, and it's a little bit difficult to explain why. I've dealt with my own issues. I've dealt with deadline pileups, my own mental health issues. I've seen my friends and I've seen people in the school be almost decimated by their programs, and it's really tough to see. That's honestly the entire reason why I'm running for this position, is I feel like there needs to be a change. I really want people to know that no matter what, I'm going to care for them. And if I do get elected into this position, I'm going to fight so hard for student issues. I really want people to know that their mental health, their physical health, and their health in general matters to me. And I want to make sure that learning as a student and as just a person, you are able to do healthily and happily.
Thank you very much, Zoe, for your time. And thank you so much for coming out today, all of you there in the audience, for spending your morning, your afternoon with us today. Please remember, vote from March 3rd to 5th online at the Student Center. You know, this student will be representing you next year, so please ensure that you are using your voice to choose who those people are. If you have questions for your candidate, please address them at the back tables or reach out to them personally. Join us tomorrow for the Vice President External Forum. Candidate platforms and information are available at the SU website. And thank you very much for joining us.